Welcome to the Easier Way to Sell presentation of Close the Deal Without Selling. Here's your host and developer of the Easier Way to Sell, Ike Krieger.
Hey, this is Ike Krieger. Welcome back. Hello and welcome to this episode of Close the Deal Without Selling. Let me give you an idea of what you can expect in this episode. We are going to be talking about the challenges of what's going on in today's world, and I'm talking about today, August 2020. You'll hear me say that I try to keep this podcast timeless, but with what's going on in the world, I thought we could at least have a brief conversation about that. So we'll start with a conversation about what I'm calling the elephant in the room. And as you continue through the episode, we'll be talking about the effect of basically trance on your communication and the way people communicate with you. You may not be aware of how big a part trance plays in the breakdown or in the accomplishment of effective communication. And I invite you to listen to this as carefully as you can, take some notes, and think about this when you're communicating with other people. I think you'll find it very interesting. In a segment a little later in this episode, we'll be going over proposals and the challenge that you face when you get a request for a proposal and find yourself really burdened by creating proposals, some of which are not accepted. And I know how frustrating that can be, and I'll give you an idea of how to combat that unwanted situation. Let me take a brief second and talk to all you sales managers and business owners out there who have a sales force that they would like to get trained, but have not yet found a way to do it both conveniently and affordably. I invite you to download at least the preview of the action guide, which is free. And in the foreword there, it discusses the relationship between you and the easier way to sell if it is your choice to teach others this very effective selling system. All right, that's enough of that. Let's get into this episode. Enjoy. Now, when I started this project, my goal was and is to have these podcasts outlive me and teach people the easier way to sell. And I'm counting on this work being available for you for as long as podcasts and the internet are available. Now, my goal up till now has been to keep this podcast timeless because then it wouldn't matter when you're listening. Well, I'm going to take a sharp turn toward a topic that's both current and relevant on the date of this recording. Now, over the course of the last 180 days, I've been steering away from the elephant in the room called the pandemic. But now I have to address how you and I and everyone might respond to this unwelcome guest. First, this elephant is so big that it's squashing the earth. Second, everyone and everything is getting squashed along with the earth. And number 3, traditional sales. Traditional sales have been squashed by the pandemic. Selling as you and I know it will not be the same for an awfully long time. Now, you may believe otherwise, but if you think you're going to be able to pick up your selling career where you left off at the beginning of 2020, I believe your mental vision is obviously less than 2020. And why is that? I'm recording this in August. Most people in the United States have been trapped in their coronavirus quarantine for nearly 6 months. These folks have come to either crave or fear any type of social or business contact. They may be communicating in some guarded way with friends and family and possibly maybe necessary service providers like plumbers or air conditioning contractors. But what the people we refer to as consumers or prospects are not about to have is the same type of sales exchanges as in the before time. Everything is off. There's no more face-to-face. There's no more watching body language. It's become a two-dimensional Zoom world. Because of all this craziness, your marketplace is shell-shocked, your supply chain shell-shocked, your competition is shell-shocked. What we all want is life to be somewhat like it used to be. You simply want to go back out into the world and sell and earn a good living as a salesperson. And you should be eager because there are megatons of pent-up energy and desire just waiting for the pandemic all-clear signal. But there's a problem. When all this pent-up energy is released, you can expect a hurricane of activity to engulf the marketplace, and I'll bet that's exactly what will happen. Unfortunately, hurricanes have consequences. Now, when the gates of commerce open up again, and they will open up again, what's your plan? How effective will that plan be? How will your plan hold up when you and every other competitor is pouncing upon the same limited marketplace? How will you set yourself apart? Now, I haven't talked about a movie in a while, but before I do, here's a quick history refresher. When I think of all this energy being released towards the same outcome, I'm reminded of the chaos surrounding the Oklahoma land rush in the United States in 1889. So, let's take a look at a scene from the 1992 Ron Howard movie, Far and Away. I put a link in the show notes that leads to a film clip depicting the start of the Oklahoma land rush. Here's the gist of this excerpt. There's this place called Oklahoma. There was only so much land in Oklahoma made available by the federal government, yet there were many people who wanted that land. Each wanted to lay claim to a limited resource called land. The government decided to have a contest of sorts to determine who'd be entitled to claim a piece of this land as their own. The 22nd of April, 1889 marked the official start of the Oklahoma land rush. As an aside, there were groups and individuals who snuck into the Oklahoma Territory before April 22nd, and these people, well, they basically ignored the rules, they defied the law, but in most cases, they got the property they wanted. These illegal early birds got in sooner than the others, and that's the source of the term beloved by Oklahomans. The term is Sooners. Now, back to the clip. Here they are, at a starting line that stretches miles. When the moment arrived, the government official fired the starting gun. Settlers on horses, in wagons, and on foot raced to claim their prize. Watch the film clip, and you'll see a vivid reenactment of the chaos that results when so many go after a limited resource. Plots of land were the limited resource of the time. Your limited resource when this pandemic is over are prospects. Among this limited resource of prospects are those who are adequately over their pandemic-based shell shock and are even willing to talk to you. And when they are, you must be ready. When your starting gun is fired, you're going to have to get out there and sell. And I'll bet that the mere thought of you going out and selling relentlessly must have you laughing and clapping your hands together in glee. I know that's not true, and so do you. But you have to sell to live. So, how are you going to handle the sales communication in a way that draws these shell-shocked prospects to you while at the same time creating an environment where people want to do business with you instead of your competitor? But if you're still planning on resuming your sales career using show and tell selling, prepare yourself for a challenge. What system are you going to use to move away from show and tell? You know I'm going to suggest the easier way to sell. All this system requires you to do is make a shift in what you already know how to do. And this distinctive way to communicate translates into an easier way to sell. And remember, you have to think like a doctor. You'll have a difficult time using this system if you're reluctant to think and communicate like a committed and trustworthy doctor. In the aftermath of the coronavirus pandemic, your prospects will not want to be sold to. They will want someone to listen and solve their problem. Remember to ask yourself, whose problem am I trying to solve? Focus on solving the problems of your prospects. Remember, solve their problems and your problems get solved also. Your task is to sort through all of the noise and find those prospects who are willing to speak to you, let out a breath, and be open about their needs. This kinder, gentler way to sell will make a difference in how you're perceived by others and by yourself. Won't it be grand when this elephant goes away? Imagine the relief you'll experience when you can once again take a deep breath, exhale, and not be fearful. My friend, psychiatrist Dr. Mark Goulston calls this the emotional exhale. Learn this system. It worked before the pandemic, it's working very well during the crisis, and it will work just as well long into the future. Prepare yourself for the after time. Prepare yourself to go back to work. That time is coming. Fortify yourself with these new language and communication success skills. You'll not only sell more and sell more easily, but you'll help your clients experience their own emotional exhale. Hey, I want to thank you for all the kind notes regarding the action guide. It really was a labor of love, and now I'm very pleased that it is available to you. Former clients and trainees who invested anywhere from $3,000 to $10,000 individually over the years used an earlier version of this action guide to learn the easier way to sell. They kept bugging me to make it available for you, so I have. Go to closethedealwithoutselling.com and get your copy. And if that's a lot to type in, you can also go to sellandmarketbetter.com. It'll take you to the same place. I got an interesting note this week, and the note chastised me for teaching a system for selling that's unethical. The message went on to accuse me of teaching you what she referred to as sales hypnosis. And she said sales hypnosis is a way to trick people into buying things they don't really want or need. Okay, I was being blamed for helping you put people into a trance. What is sales hypnosis? Am I teaching it? And why might someone believe it's unethical? Let me begin with a quick story about something that's somewhat related. This actually occurred, and interestingly, it occurred yesterday at a time I was least expecting it. Jenny and I usually listen to the news when she's finished with her daily funeral home duties. She comes home and needs to unwind, so the news and the review of the daily headlines used to serve as our equivalent of unwinding music. Now, it's just the opposite. Lately, the news has been so negative and so depressing that we've started listening to audiobooks instead. As many of you know by now, I'm an auditory. I prefer to receive, process, and learn information by hearing it, and I love listening to audiobooks. But Jenny is a visual. She'd rather read a book than listen to it. However, I came across a series of detective novels to which she and I both like to listen. Hooray! Last night, we were listening to a nightly segment of the book, and something critical to the plot line was about to happen. Now, at that very same moment, my mind shifted its focus to an idea that I had for something that I wanted to share with you in this segment. I was running over the various possibilities in my head when I realized I had completely missed a portion of the audiobook. My conscious mind had stopped listening. I became absorbed in thought and found myself in a heightened state of internal awareness. This heightened state of internal awareness precluded my ability to listen. I had blocked out the sound. Now, if you want to talk about hypnosis, in the language of mesmerism, aka hypnosis, I was in a trance. For a moment, my unconscious or non-conscious mind took over control of my thoughts and shut down my ears. When I realized what had happened, I snapped out of it and asked Jenny, "Did I miss something important in the book?" She suggested I do a quick rewind. Speaking of rewind, think back a few episodes when we discussed the magic number 7 plus or minus 2. Here's a quick refresher. The magic number 7 plus or minus 2 refers to the number of thoughts that can be held at any one time in your brain. When another thought track comes along, one of your 5 thoughts, 7 thoughts, or 9 thoughts gets pushed out. Now, we've all experienced losing our train of thought, and that's how the magic number 7 plus or minus 2 works. I have a good friend named Erwin. For those of you from Southern California, you may remember the "Erwin, you're killing me" commercials for the mattress company. This is the same guy. Erwin is an electric train enthusiast and has an entire room of his home filled with a multi-train set that's so grand it contains both urban and rural settings. His setup would fascinate any human, no matter their age. I'd like you to imagine that in this train room there's a small table over in the corner, and sitting on top of this table are 7 individual pieces of miniaturized track. Each piece of this track is a foot long, and on each piece of the track sits an electric train locomotive. It's plain to see that each locomotive is a different color, but none are gray. You are holding a gray locomotive in your hand. I want you to take the gray locomotive in your hand and replace one of the locomotives on the table. The one you picked up is no longer on the table, and the pattern of the locomotives on those pieces of track has changed. That's exactly how the magic number 7 plus or minus 2 process affects your patterns of thinking. It's a process of subtraction. With the easier way to sell, you will avoid introducing additional thought tracks because that new data will disrupt or impair a person's thought stream. Your objective with this system is the exact opposite. You want your language to bolster the existing non-conscious thought patterns. In my model, your questions are your answers, and those answers will help your prospect free up a clear, uncluttered space in their mind. And it's in this space where your prospect has the freedom to create and to language the internal thought process that makes them happy. In a rapport-filled conversation, your prospect envisions themselves in the future using your product, using your service, or using your idea. And when your prospect goes inside to think in this way, they enter into that clearing your questions help create. And it's in that clearing that your prospect will begin to conjure up and construct a scenario in which they imagine your product solving their problems and meeting their needs. They're fantasizing about the benefits of using your offering. You'll soon recognize what prospects look like when they begin to fantasize, and once that process takes hold, you can almost sit back and relax. Almost. If the fantasy does not take over, you should probably thank the prospect and move on. Your communication has not pierced the shield surrounding their unconscious mind. Now, if you've been effective at using the system, this individual is probably not a prospect in your upper 30% of the bell curve. Shake hands and move on. Okay, let's take a look at what we just covered. First, traditional sales. Traditional sales appeal to the rigid conscious mind. 2. The easier way to sell appeals to a more open, unconscious mind. 3. The conscious mind hates change and loves to say no. 4. The unconscious mind loves change and is willing to say yes. 5. As a problem solver, you want prospects to retain all of their thoughts and all of the feelings that help you guide them across that sales minefield. How motivated is your prospect to come across that divide? How strongly do they want to move from where they are to where they say they want to be? Let them relate to you how your offering might meet their needs or fulfill their dreams. Let them tell you how your offering makes their existence empirically different and better. They will share that information with you if you ask. And you can even prime the pump with a type of open-ended question called future pacing. Future pacing is the unconscious creation of one's own future. A question like this would be appropriate. So, Mr. Prospect, think of yourself sitting here 2 weeks from now, and based on your thoughts, tell me how you know this product was the right choice. They will tell you, and it's critical for them to hear this information in their own voice. They've created the substance of this information while in a heightened state of internal awareness. This is the environment in which prospects begin to close the sale themselves because they are acting on information they've created themselves. And for the umpteenth time, say it with me, when you say it, it's selling. When they say it, it's true. But realistically, most of the people you encounter are in a heightened state of external awareness. They're ready to say no. They're not looking for a different thought track to enter the brain. Your conscious mind is being bombarded all the time by conflicting non-conscious signals. Here's an example. You're at work, and it's a beautiful day. You look outside and see people wearing casual clothes who appear serene and even happy. Your unconscious mind is screaming for you to join them in the sunshine, but your conscious mind shrugs it off. Your conscious mind says, "No, you must be here," and with a sigh, you resume your work. This conscious awareness is merely a narrative that helps you, helps me, and helps everyone else make it through the day. It too is a trance. I'm not suggesting that you put your prospects in a trance. I'm suggesting that you need to get them out of one. 90% of people are not present to life 90% of the time because everyone is in some kind of trance. Help your prospect transfer that internal communication with themselves into a curious, authentic, and neutral conversation with you. Allow your language and your open-ended diagnostic questions to lead the way. And another thing to remember is people fighting to stay in the conscious are more likely to say no and close the door on possibility. The non-conscious mind is more likely to keep that doorway to possibility open at least a crack. The questions you ask and the way you ask them makes it more likely that your prospect will open that door and step through that doorway of possibility on their own. Here's a final thought. You and I have discussed what you need to do before you go into a sales call. Here's something new. Before you enter into this sales process, you must untrance yourself. Running around in your brain are all those thoughts and assumptions and preconceived notions you have about an upcoming meeting and or the participants of that upcoming meeting. These thoughts and assumptions are all made up. It's a story you've told yourself, a story you've concocted about a future that's yet to happen. It's not a true story. It's a non-conscious vision. It may seem true at the time, but it's not. Why is that? Because you, my friend, are in trance yourself. How do you untrance yourself? Here's a life-changing tip I learned in the 1980s. This exercise will help make your preconceived notion trance disappear. Consider everything about an upcoming meeting. Everything good, everything bad, everything good about everybody, and everything bad about everybody. I want you to take all those thoughts and all those images and place them carefully into an imaginary briefcase that you're holding in your hands. As a matter of fact, put all your thoughts and all your feelings from this moment backwards into the briefcase. Excellent. Now close the imaginary briefcase and make it readily available by placing it next to you on the ground. All those thoughts and issues are no longer swirling around in your mind. Those thoughts and issues are tucked safely away in your briefcase. With those thoughts and issues now out of your immediate view, look at the future. What do you see? What are the possibilities now? The possibilities are endless. The possibilities are whatever you want them to be. That would be a good time to go into your appointment. And remember to remain curious, authentic, and neutral, and think like a doctor. Plus, when I suggest that the best way to create the future is to invent it, this is the exercise I recommend. Okay, let's circle back and address the message I received. Am I teaching you sales hypnosis? I certainly don't think of it that way. Besides, if you follow the teachings of this system and you can solve your prospects' problems in a way that makes them happy and satisfied, you've done your job. Since I began using this system in the late 1980s, I have never yet had a client or prospect tell me they felt manipulated into buying something that they didn't think was in their best interest. So, do I teach sales hypnosis? I guess, sort of. No, I don't. I'm teaching you the value of an expanded way of effectively communicating with others. After all, my mission statement is to be the cause of effective communication in the world, and everything I share with you is with that mission in mind. I'm teaching you how to have a conversation with prospects that gets both them and you what you want. And please, if you're using this system as a way to solve your problems at the expense of your clients, just stop it. It's unethical. It's manipulative. This is a kinder and gentler way to sell if you use it that way. Please, use it that way. Here's one more segment about trance. I think this is really important. Plus, I've touched upon proposal writing before. Proposals can make you crazy. You will go crazy if you provide proposals to anyone making a request. Here are my 2 commandments for proposal writing, and they're in your action guide. First, never offer to do a proposal. Second, never do a proposal unless you know what needs to be in it in order for that proposal to be accepted. Now, how does trance fit into this? How does the unconscious fit into this? Well, when a prospect asks you to provide a proposal, my coaching is that you respond by saying, I'll be happy to provide a proposal for you, but I have a request. I'm going to need you to tell me everything that has to be in the proposal in order for it to be accepted. This request should produce a retreat into the non-conscious by the proposal requester. Watch as your prospect goes inside and starts to think of all of the things that will be necessary in that proposal. Just listen while your prospect tells you exactly how to create the format and the details for the proposal that you're about to write. Now, the beauty of this is, when it works, and remember, the system is designed to work every time and it doesn't, is that when you actually provide the proposal with everything that your prospect had told you to include, your prospect will be surprised how closely the proposal meets their requirements. These are the same requirements they told you had to be in the proposal. However, when these requirements were conceived by the prospect was in a trance. They won't remember giving you all this information because they had gone inside to their unconscious in order to come up with the details. Avoid showing surprise when they say, "Wow, this is perfect. You really nailed it." Trance can be your friend. Okay, it's time to come out of your trance. When I snap my fingers, you will awake. Hey, welcome back. I really enjoy these topics. These are the topics that really drill down to where actual communication takes place. And I invite you to start being aware when either you or the people or person you're talking to starts to go inside and starts to go into a trance-like reality. Just pay attention. Learn to recognize that when it happens. And stay healthy. This pandemic has made us all a little bit nuts. And just remember, everybody is just as upset about this as you are. Once again, take care of yourself. This is Ike Krieger. See you next time.